says kind of convinced me that we didn't, even though he believes that we did. So I'm kind of
Yes,
on the
correct.
fence about it.
Yeah,
Can I ask you another question?
Sure.
go ahead.
Go for it.
Are governments here to protect us or for their own benefit?
I think the idea of government's changed since government was enacted.
Okay.
Yeah, I think now pretty much for themselves.
Okay.
I do think that historically there was an origin of protection,
All right.
but
So
that's not where we are.
you guys aren't
You
totally insane.
you are talking to three people that are not in total trust of the government. Let me say that. We've done plenty of episodes where we're like, maybe watch out for this.
Yeah.
All right. This is fun. All right. Awesome. Thanks, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
So where do you want to start? I mean, I could lead where you guys have a question, or I have some questions for you guys.
Yeah, we got plenty of questions. We really actually to establish kind of a baseline. One of the questions that you asked when we signed up for the interview is talking about not using the graphic of a flat disk floating in space. And I really want to clarify, just so we know, what you believe is happening as far as that goes, what the model looks like.
Yeah. So there's people that know the Earth is flat, and then there's people that think that flat Earth is the dumbest thing ever, and those people usually think that we're a pizza floating in space. We're the only flat planet, or all planets are flat. No flat earther believes anything. We don't believe in planets. We don't believe in space. And where if you Google flat Earth and click images, you're going to get that, flat Earth society, disk planet, pizza planet, whatever you want to call it, with the water falling off the edges, right? Nobody believes that. Large bodies of water at rest need containment. Test it out yourself. You need containment. You can't have a bath without the sides of a tub surrounding the water. You can't have a pond without the sides of the pond. A lake is a bigger pond. The world of oceans. What holds, you're going to say gravity, but what holds the water to the ball? And the answer is it's contained with the shoreline that goes all the way around our world pond. And that shoreline is called Antarctica. It's the highest land on Earth.
Okay, so the ice wall, you do believe the ice wall is what's containing?
Not the ice wall.
No,
it's
okay.
The ice shoreline. So Antarctica, the average, the base level of Antarctica is higher than any other continent. So if you think about that, that's the shoreline of the world pond. And so if you had a wall that was 10 feet thick, that's a 10-foot thick wall. That's a nice wall, right? If you have a wall that's a mile thick, that's a really thick wall. But if you have a wall that's several thousand miles, that's a continent, right? It's not a wall. It's a shoreline that holds our oceans in. So the analogy I like to do is let's say we'll go to Kansas. It's nice and flat there, and there's a lake in the middle of Kansas that's 100 miles across. That's a big lake, right? 100 miles across. You can't even see across, right? And at the center of the lake is a big magnetic mountain. That's our North Pole. So wherever you are on the lake, your compass is going to point towards the center of the lake. Make sense? Right?
So far, yeah.
Okay, I think we're following.
Yeah. So say you're 25 miles offshore. You're out. You feel like you're in the ocean. That's a big lake. You can't see. You're just going to see water all around you. So you're trying to figure out where you're going. You pull out your compass, and the compass needle is going to point towards the center of the lake, no matter where you are. So if you want to go west or east, you have to maintain a 90-degree angle to that center point. So you can't see any land. You can't see anything. There might be some islands that you come up with, but you just go. And if you follow that heading of 270 west or 90 east, you're going to make a big circle all the way around the center. You're going to end up right back where you went from. Does that make that lake a sphere? Or did you just go around the lake, like going around your neighborhood? Right? So east and west are easily circumnavigatable, and people do it all the time. Billions of people do it. People leave California, they go to Japan, they go to China, they go all the way around the UK, and they come right back to New York. And they, Amelia Earhart, all of her stops were in a big circle around, equidistant from the center, pretty much. So billions of people have done that. Awesome. Circumnavigation, east and west, works on a flat Earth, and it works on a globe Earth. It works the same. But what doesn't work on a flat Earth is if you're going south. Because if you went south off of South America, Santiago, you should be able to cross over Antarctica and end up over in Australia. Nobody's ever done that, ever. A few years ago, there was this guy that was going to go for the world record, Guinness Book of World Records, the first person to circumnavigate south. So he started up in allegedly the North Pole area, And I went to Alaska and down to California and to Hawaii and all the way down to Santiago. Then he went to the South Pole and he turned around and came back to Brazil and back up that way. So basically, he just literally went out south and then turned around and came back. And we're like, oh, he goes, well, the weather was too bad. We couldn't continue. So we went this route. Basically, he just turned around and came back. Guinness gave him the world record for southern circumnavigation. Is that weird?
A little bit, yeah.
And what was the flight that they were supposed to be making that would have gone supposedly over Antarctica from where to where, Santiago to where?
But there was no flight because no one ever plans a trip from Santiago to Australia or New Zealand. No one ever does that because on the flat Earth map, if you look at the Gleason's map, which is the best map we have, it's a map that all of the the world organizations like the UN and all the other organizations that control the world, that's the map that they use, but that's the map that's used in all autopilots. That's the map that's used for all war planning. It's the map that's used for all flight routes. It's the map that was in all schools and all encyclopedias all the way up to the 1950s, and then the Rockefellers removed it and didn't tell you about it in anywhere else. So when you look at that, that makes sense. And so no one ever goes south and comes back on the other side of the world. Well, if the Earth was a globe, somebody would have done it by now. Hasn't been done. Doesn't prove the Earth is a globe, but it's weird. It's weird that no one's ever done it. And every time they do it, you can look up. There's a drone buoy that sailed around Antarctica, which is ridiculous. It can't even happen. The Antarctic sailboat race, which they have every couple of years, they don't even
actually have that written down.
Yeah, they don't go near Antarctica. They can't even see Antarctica. They're like at 50 degrees south, 40 degrees south at some points. And even on their website, the last time they did it, there's one leg of the race from Africa around Antarctica and then over to South America. That leg, which is a big leg, was 32,000 miles, according to the race. Wait a minute. The equator is just 25,000 miles. How did just going around that little 13,000 mile continent turn out to be 32,000 miles? And then they had another 10,000 miles to go to finish the race. How are they going around Antarctica and making a circle bigger than the equator? Weird. Can I get a weird?
Yeah.
Can you explain that one in a different way? I wasn't able to follow that.
So if you look at Antarctica on a globe, it's a continent at the bottom of the globe. It's kind of a circular continent, and they tell us it's about 10 to 13,000 miles in circumference. So if you wanted to sail around it, you would go about 13,000 miles.
Okay.
So the Antarctic sailboat race, you've seen those sailboats. They're the most high-tech sailboats in the world. They're amazing, right? These are the fastest sailboats in the world. And they're saying that the one leg of the race, which was like 2/3 of the race, was 32,000 miles. You got to remember the equator, which is the biggest circle you can put on the globe, is only 24,900 miles. So how did that one leg become 32,000 miles? The other thing is, when you're out in the ocean, you don't know how far you're going, because if you're not over land, you don't know how far you're going. The only way to be told your distance is GPS, pretty much, right? And GPS is run by NASA. And so when they look at it, they say, okay, the trip took us 30 days or whatever it was. I forget, it was 30 days, 60 days, whatever the amount of time it was. And they say, okay, well, at 50 degrees south, the race should have been like 18,000 miles or 20,000 miles, whatever it was. So they take the time divided by the distance, and they say, well, the average speed was 3 to 4 miles per hour. 3 to 4 miles per hour. Now, are those boats going? Those boats can go 3 to 4,000 miles an hour when they're tied up at the dock, right? 3 to 4. The reason it's coming out like that is because they're traveling a much bigger distance than they're being told. And so we had at least one of those sailboat captains has come on our shows saying, I know how they're faking it. The Earth is flat. We're sailing much greater distances. They're using magnetic declination to hide the flat Earth, because there is no magnetic declination on the flat Earth. It's only on the globe that you have magnetic declination. Go ahead. Sorry. I'm talking a lot, so you guys ask.
No, Totally fine. And that was going to be my next question is, are these people that are taking part in this race, are they being lied to or are they lying?
No,
That was my
neither.
big question.
They're not even being lied to. They're being lied to by GPS, the ground positioning system. But some of them are figuring out. Other people are like, oh, well, I guess there was a big current. I guess, these guys the boats are going 20, 30 miles an hour at times. But the average speed is 3 to 4 miles per hour if you take the time and the distance that they've traveled.
The distance. Yeah. Okay.
And and it's hard for them to figure it out because they're like, well, we're at 60 degrees south, now we're at 40 degrees south, and we're here. These guys, when they're done, they're sailors. Okay, they're not there doing math. They're there, sailing as fast as they can. And I don't know why they all don't speak out when they hear that they only were going 3 or 4 miles per hour. They should all know. But it's willful ignorance, if they don't. But a couple of them have spoken out. And, I have an app. It's called the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. And on the Circumnavigation FAQ section, you can find that video there and other videos that Google is hiding from you.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about navigation, full disclosure, William is a pilot.
Yes.
So he does have some flights questions that I think we should get into now, just because it seems relevant talking about navigation.
Let's do it.
So, you were talking earlier about a flight from New Zealand from Santiago or back and forth or whatever.
Yeah.
One argument, I don't know if everyone's different. Everyone has different arguments for stuff, and people believe different things. So this might not even apply to you, but this is something I've heard frequently. Is people talking about flights from Auckland, New Zealand to Santiago, Chile. And there's different stuff that I've seen. Some people have claimed that there's no nonstop flights from,
No, there
New
are.
Zealand to Brazil. And I'm like, well, but there is one nonstop from New Zealand to Chile. And they try to say that, well, because they have to actually stop in Houston and then they got to stop at, somewhere else to get there because it's so far away. But there is a nonstop flight. And it takes 11 hours. And so
there's a 14-hour flight from
Auckland, New Zealand.
Yeah.
So from Auckland, New Zealand to Santiago, Chile, there's an 11-hour nonstop flight. And I am looking at the flight radar stuff because I'm on this website constantly anyway. The last time it did this flight, it was 10 hours and 15 minutes from Auckland to New Zealand, or to Chile, because the wind, the jet stream at this time of year, that helps it get there, obviously.
Yep.
But it tends to run around 10 hours and 30 minutes is the average time. But according to the most recognized flat Earth model, if you were to go from New Zealand to Chile, it's a straight distance. It's about 14,000 miles is what the most recognized model of Earth or flat Earth says. 14,000 miles. So for that flight to be possible in less than 11 hours, it would have to be going 1,300 miles an hour, which just isn't possible. So my question is, how do you rectify that in terms of how is that rectified?
No, I got you. And again, on the app in the frequently asked questions section, there's the Southern flights, and there's tons of videos there to address your first question of the flight not existing. At first, when we first heard about it, we're like, yeah, that flight doesn't exist. And then we had Max Egan, who is a truther, not a flat earther. He goes, hey, I'm taking the direct flight from Santiago to Auckland. Let's prove that the flight exists. So we live streamed him at the airport, getting on the plane taking off until we lost his signal. Then we tracked it it was 14 hours, I believe, at the time. And then he landed, and as soon as he could, he reconnected to the live stream that we had never shut down, proving that he was there, because a lot of flat earthers didn't believe the flight exists. And I was like, does it exist? And so the other thing he did was he used a compass when leaving. I think it was he going Santiago to Auckland? He should have been going south and then southwest. But his compass readings actually were really weird, and he couldn't figure it out. But then we charted them on a flat Earth map, and they made a straight line from Santiago to New Zealand. They literally made a straight where he was going. He was going northwest. Like more north. First north, almost north, slightly west, then northwest, then dead west for a second, and then west, southwest, and then south. And literally, it drew a perfectly straight line. Those compass settings, reality, drew a straight line on a flat Earth map, and his seat back with the route that he was showing showed that he was going right near Antarctica, and he was nowhere near it, and he couldn't prove it. The other thing is, Elon Musk himself, was it Elon Musk or Neil deGrasse Tyson? Elon said, planes, when you get over 40,000, 50,000 feet, with the same amount of energy, they can go much faster. Same amount of energy, they can go much faster. And we know at 40,000 feet, there's 200 to 300 mile an hour winds that go in a beautiful circle around flat Earth.
So that I will disagree with, because I know for a fact that's not always true.
Well, it's not always, you're right. It's not always true. Absolutely.
Yeah, very rarely is it true.
Well, it's actually true quite often, but have you gone up at 40,000, 50,000 feet?
Yes. Yeah. No, I'm a corporate pilot. I fly for a living.
Yeah. So often these direct flights are canceled at the last minute, and then they go to a 2 or 3 stop flight at the last minute, and maybe that's because the winds aren't cooperating. Sometimes there's up to like a 5-hour difference in the landing. When they get there, there's for some reason the flight took an extra 5 hours. So we think that planes fly 550 miles an hour. I think that is it the Dreamliner, the Qantas flight? It's a special plane, and when you look into that plane, it has 7 layers of heat resistant paint on it. That's weird. Okay, so they're flying higher, they're getting tailwinds, and they're flying faster. And we've done the math; they don't even have to go that fast. If the plane was flying like 600, 650 miles an hour, 200 mile an hour tailwind, you're going to get there in the right amount of time. Again,
so how fast do you think? How fast do you think they're actually going?
I don't know. Ground speed or airspeed? Which one are we talking about?
I mean, let's talk about airspeed for a second, and then we'll go to ground speed. How fast do you think it is?
Well, airspeed.
The plane itself.
I don't know. 600 miles an hour, maybe.
So, but how does that rectify making up the other?
If you have a
800 miles an hour, you'd have to make.
Well, you don't have to make it 800 miles an hour. Again, we could spend the entire show talking about this, or you can go on my app, go to the frequently asked questions, and go to the southern flights. All of the math has been done for you. We show the maps, we show the live wind maps, we show the actual tracks, we show the compass readings, we show the whole thing, and it makes perfect sense.
Can you get
what was the name of your app again?
Give a quick answer.
The app is the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. Just go to flatearthdave.com. Flatearthdave.com. The app's right there. Full disclosure, the app's $3. All right. There is a subscription for other things that you don't need. If you want just the frequently asked questions and all the resources there, just one-time price of $3. It's easy schmeezy. And I offer 3 Bitcoins, by the way, for 1 globe proof. Not a flat Earth debunking, just 1 proof of the globe, 3 Bitcoins. That's like 120 grand today.
If I sent up a weather balloon and got a picture of the curvature, does that count?
No, because how high are you going to send it? Because at 120,000 feet, there is no curvature. It's at the horizon rises to eye level. If you look at the Red Bull jump, his inside camera that wasn't fisheye, the only one that wasn't fisheye, as he climbed in, it showed the horizon, and we drew a line on the screen. And then at 128,000 feet, the horizon was actually at the exact same height, if not a little bit higher. So that's kind of weird, because the higher you go up on a ball, the farther you can see. The farther you can see, the lower the horizon should drop. The horizon is an optical thing where perspective with our round eyes brings the sky and the ground together. But on a ball, that ground should drop at 120,000 feet. On an airplane, think about this. You probably never thought about this, William. Let's say you're flying at 39,000 feet for whatever reason. Right? 39,000 feet, your cruising altitude. At 39,000 feet, your horizon is 242 miles away, according to Globe Math. You can go verify all this stuff later, but I've done it. Right? So 242 miles. So if you're a 6-foot tall person standing at the edge of perfectly calm water on the ground, your horizon's only 3 miles away. Are you aware of that?
Yes, actually, yes, I'm very aware of that one.
Okay, so 3 miles away, but we can see the surface of the water for dozens of miles beyond that. That's another problem. But at 242 miles, the horizon, if you're standing if you are trying to look at an object on the ground 242 miles away, it would be 39,000 feet below the physical horizon on a globe. So if you're flying in an airplane at 39,000 feet, that's 76,000 or 78,000 feet. The horizon should be 78,000 feet below you, but you can look out your left window, you can look out your right window, you can see that horizon, you can draw a straight line between the two, it'll go right in front of your eyes, right? Maybe you'll see it a little bit lower because of the thickness of the atmosphere, and it just becomes sky, and you really can't see the true horizon, but it should be 78,000 feet below you, and it's not. It's right there at eye level or close to eye level. Depending on the day, if there's some thickness to the atmosphere, you'll get this. When the atmosphere becomes opaque, it becomes sky, so you no longer can see the true horizon. It just becomes sky, and a lot of globers will say that's the horizon. No, it's not. And now the anti-flat earthers that are out there fighting us all the time, they admit that even though there's a physical horizon, you can never see it. That's kind of crazy, right? You can never see the physical horizon 3 miles away. Like, I go out west. I'm in California. I'm watching the sunset over a calm ocean. And where I see it intersect with the ocean is less than 3 miles away when I'm sitting on my beach chair. No, it's not. It's way out there. So we can see too far. We can see mountains over 700 miles away where the tops of those mountains should be over 40 miles below the curvature. We can see all of them, right? 700 miles, right? Kansas, driving from one end of Kansas to the other, the amount of drop is 40 miles. 40 miles of drop from one end of Kansas to the other if the Earth was a globe. Where is that 40 miles? Can you help me? How about this?
What do you mean?
Well, if you look at I kind of wish I had my graphics, but maybe we'll do another show after this. After I whet your guys' appetites, maybe we'll do a video show on my channel. Okay,
sounds good.
And we'll do that, and I'll show you all these graphics. 40 miles. Have you guys seen a balloon at 120,000 feet? How high it is? It's way up there. That's only 20 miles. So double that height. That's how much drop there is from one end of Kansas to the other. That's how much drop there is, right? And
like of elevation at different ends of Kansas.
Well, no. If you're wherever you are on the globe, you're at the top. You're always at the top. Your point of view is I'm at the top of the globe. So if you drove to the other end of Kansas, the other end of Kansas would be 40 miles below the tangent of your feet where you started. Right? If you're standing on a ball and you're standing upright,
because of the curvature,
it shoots out, and the curvature drops away. Right? So one end of Kansas to the other, there's 40 miles of drop. So here's the thing. How about this? What if the government told you Earth was flat and stationary? And, all of your observations, well, look at that lake. It's perfectly calm. It's reflecting that mountain. There is no distortion, right? The Earth is flat. It's contained. Well, high pressure next to a vacuum doesn't make any sense to me because we're contained. And then some guys came around and said, no. The Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. It's orbiting at 66,600 miles an hour. It's chasing the sun at 500,000 miles per hour, and it's moving sideways at 2.2 million miles per hour. But you can't feel it. Right. And we're corkscrewing through space. All of the other stars in our galaxy are moving in all of their own directions. 80% of them are binary stars. So they're all doing their own figure eights around each other. But for some reason, there's never any parallax, and no two stars have ever crossed their path in all of history. Right. When you're driving down the road looking at trees and stuff, everything changes position because of parallax. Things closer move faster, things farther move slower. Never once have two stars crossed each other, ever. Even when we go 186 million miles from one side of the sun to the other every 6 months, and we're traveling 4.4 billion miles a year, never to return to where we were before, somehow none of the stars ever change. Can I get it with that? That's a thing that's weird. Once in a while, just say that's weird. That's interesting.
I have a follow-up to that. So when we're talking about the flat Earth model and the Gleason model, and you say that you don't believe that there are planets, you don't believe that there are stars. What is it that we are seeing when we see the stars?
Yeah, good one. Let's talk about that. So once upon a time, there was nothing, and it exploded and became everything. And then all of the matter that came out of nothing turned into perfectly rocky balls. And then all of the gases of helium and hydrogen, they decided to collapse upon themselves rather than expand and violently fill the available space as they always do in all of our experience. But they decided to collapse upon themselves and make these giant burning gas balls inside of a vacuum. There's so many problems with that. That's crazy. But if you,
I agree with you.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so we have a
Yeah.
vacuum next to our high pressure atmosphere without a container. How does that happen? Well, gravity is your only answer, that gravity's holding the air down, right? But I can take a box. Let's pretend I have a lucite box, a couple 2 feet by 2 feet by 2 feet, and we suck all of the air out of it. So I have essentially a zero pressure vacuum, not a sucking vacuum, just no pressure. And I have a valve on that box, and I can, anywhere I am, at top of a mountain, in a balloon, sea level, no matter where I am, if I open up that valve, what's going to happen? The air is going to rush inside violently. It's going to violently fill the available space. So I can take a straw and I could drink water and I could suck air with the low pressure, the weak low pressure difference of my mouth and lungs. How come gravity's not holding that air down? How come the Tor 17 vacuum, which we can't even recreate here on Earth, doesn't suck all of the air off the Earth? And the only answer you could have is, well, there's a gradient and it goes up and gets less and less and less and less and less until there's no atmosphere. But that's not true. That's absolutely not true. Yes, there is a gradient. And if you look at a tank of propane, you got a half a tank of propane. It's thick on the bottom. There's a thicker gas in the middle, and then it's a lighter gas on the top. And it's just because it's all contained. But put a hole in that anywhere, it's all that propane's going to go away. Gas needs a container. You can't have air pressure, gas pressure without a sealed container. So we are in some sort of container. So getting back to what the stars and the planets are, you have to understand there's a couple things. I'm going to say a couple things, and don't short circuit people. The inverse square law of light. Have you guys ever looked into that? It's very easy.
I've looked into it. I don't have a great understanding of it.
It's very easy. If you let's say you go outside and you turn your high beams on your car and you put your face 2 inches in front of it, it's going to hurt your eyes, right? But if you go back 10 feet, not as bad. Go back 20 feet, it's way better. Go back 40 feet, it's like, okay, I could stare at it now. Go back 80 feet, and it gets dimmer and dimmer and smaller and smaller. And that's the inverse square law says, as things, every time you double the distance of something, it's 1/4 of the size or 1/4 of the brightness, and the vice versa. As you get closer to it, every time you half the distance, it's 4 times brighter. So let's pretend the sun is a yoga ball, right? Yoga ball, about 4 feet around, whatever. Okay. And the Earth is a BB, a marble, right? That's the ratio of size, right? So let's say you're standing on top of that BB, let's say you're standing on top of the regular Earth and the sun is a mile over your head at noon. We move the sun a mile over your head. So that's literally standing on that marble, and the yoga ball is like a fraction of a millimeter above it, right? Just for comparison. So you look up, the entire sky is the yoga ball. The entire sky is the entire sky. If the sun was that's 186,000 miles across, right? If it was a mile over us, the entire sky would be the sun. So how do we make it smaller? We make it go away. So we move it away 93 million miles, and it becomes the size of a coin held at arm's length, just like we see the sun, right?
Yep.
So if we doubled that distance, how much smaller would it get? The answer is it would be 1/4 of the size. So now it's the size of a pencil held at arm's length. If we doubled it again, so it's 4 times as far, it's getting pretty close to the size of a star. Okay, let's double it again, so it's 8 times away, and we'll say it's pretty damn small. Might not even be able to see it, but 8 times away is a light hour, because they tell us the sun is 8 light minutes away. 8 times 8 is 64. We'll call it a light hour, right? At a light hour away, the sun would be as small as a star, but let's be a little safe. Let's make it 24 times. Let's make it 24 times farther. 24 times farther. Now it is scientifically provable that its angular size would be too small for the human eye to see at 1 light day away. What good does that do us? Well, they tell us Polaris, our North Star that everybody in the North can see with our naked eye, is 48 times bigger, 46 times bigger, but it's 48 times bigger, whatever. 48 times bigger than the sun. So they tell us size it, the moon is the sun is 400 times bigger and 400 times farther than the moon. That's why they're looking for the same size. So that's called sizing invariance. So if we took Polaris and made it 48 light days away, we wouldn't be able to see it by far. Remember, the sun is 1 day away. Well, 48 times bigger, 48 times farther, it would be too small to see. 48 light, that's not even 2 light months. Okay. Wrap it up to a light year. Can't see it. 100 light years, 200 light years, 300, 433 light years away, and I could see it with my naked eyes. You're not thinking. You weren't taught to think about this stuff. You were never told this information. That is scientific proof that you cannot see it. Well, light travels for billions of miles and billions of years. No, light spreads out. Even lasers spread out, right? If I had a balloon and I just put a little bit of air in it, and let's say the rubber is the light, and I blew it up to 2 feet wide, that rubber is going to get pretty thin. If I blew it up to a mile wide, could you even see the rubber? Would there be anything left, right? Everything spreads out in all directions. So it would get dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. So ignoring the brightness issue, you couldn't see Polaris at 2 light months away, and I'm rounding up, giving the globe every benefit of the doubt. They tell us it's 433 light years away. I'm sorry, you're not thinking if you're thinking about that. Now let's get to planets, right? Have you guys, what state are you guys in?
We're all over the place. I'm in Tennessee, Williams in South Carolina, David's in Indiana. We're all over the place.
Were you at the debate in Nashville the other day? The big flat Earth debate between Pastor Greg Locke and Dean Odell? It was
No, I didn't even know that was happening.
It was amazing, dude. You missed out.
Was it?
Yeah. So that's
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, it was mind blowing. So if you guys looked up and seen Jupiter has been in the sky. It's very bright. It's like if you compare it to a star, it's brighter than any star in the sky. It was right near the moon like a week ago. You guys remember seeing it? You guys have seen it before. It's really bright. So tell us, Jupiter is made of gases, dirty gases spinning around. So gases, a ball of gas in a space vacuum, we got that problem. I mean, there's people that say, Dave, why do you even talk about this? Because you can't have gas in a vacuum. And I'm just like, well, we got to take it one step at a time because everyone has their learning process. So Jupiter is 40 million miles farther from the sun than we are. Something crazy. Maybe it's even much farther than that. But if you listen to NASA says if you were on Jupiter, the sun would be like a large star at best. It would be pretty small. So you have to believe that distant sun, you're on Jupiter right now, that little sun in the sky is lighting up the gases on Jupiter. They're reflecting off of that non-reflective surface and going all the way back to our eyes here on Earth, and we see it as bright as the sun. I mean, you look up at Jupiter in the sky, it's as bright as the sun. It's just smaller. How is that happening? That's not what's happening. We're seeing lights in the sky. What are they? I don't know. They're all named after gods. I don't know what they are. And no one knows what they are. Not a heliocentrist or a flat earther. But what we know what they're not a burning ball of gas. They're not a ball of the unburning gas reflecting sunlight where it's as bright as the sun. The other thing is they tell us Jupiter has more gravity than all of the other planets combined, and Jupiter is made out of 99% helium and hydrogen. Helium and hydrogen. How much helium and hydrogen that defy gravity here on Earth? How much do you need before it decides to collapse in on itself and create gravity? Got an answer?
No.
Yeah. Do you guys have some water? Drink some water. I'm feeding you guys with a freaking information fire hose, and this is going to break some of your paradigms, but it's okay. All right. Listen,
okay.
I went through this, but I didn't have somebody educated bringing me through it. I had to do it myself over time.
You're our Sherpa. You're our Sherpa of flat Earth.
Listen, don't believe anything I say. You got to go verify this stuff yourself, and you can. Right. The only thing that you can't verify is anything that NASA says because they're the only ones allowed to go up there. Right. And everything they say, but we can show you NASA faking stuff on the International Fake Station. We can show you them using green screens and wires and augmented reality. We can show.
I've actually seen some of those videos, and those are very interesting on the ISS.
Yeah. So why? And there's so many new ones now. They're screwing up left and right. Just the other day, the ISS live stream, just literally 2 days ago, the ISS live stream was filming. They're flying over the Indian Ocean. And there was a perfectly straight line right across going over 5,000 miles. Problem number one, 5,000 miles is there's too much curvature to see a line 5,000 miles long. But from the land masses, it was over 5,000 miles, perfectly straight, and then you'd see the clouds, literally like two different clouds that didn't even fit together like a puzzle piece. It was just there was a processing glitch. It's supposed to be a live stream from the ISS. Perfect seam out in the middle
like a
of the
CGI mistake.
Like that's good when they were wrapping it around the sphere, the high altitude footage of the Earth from a plane to make it look like the space station. They screwed up in the stitching.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's pretty. The amount of mistakes that they're making. Well, why does NASA care? What about the other space agencies from all the other countries? Wouldn't they telling us they're all in it together? Right? Countries are a myth. What is a country? A country is a belief. It's a belief. We believe that we had a Cold War. Nobody died. 40 years of a Cold War, however long it was. Nobody died. No battles. No nothing. Just a Cold War. It was cold.
So NASA and all the other space agencies that are in on this, and the world governments as a whole, what is the purpose here? Like, I understand that.
Good question.
There's lies going on, and we know that the government lies. It happens all the time. But what specifically about this lie is helping them to either control us or to hide something? What are they hiding?
Hiding free energy, hiding more land, hiding God, hiding more resources, hiding your true divinity, hiding a lot of things. What if you guys, I assume you guys look like you all have jobs, right? You're making some money, right? What if you had a device? So
far, thankfully.
Yeah. What if you guys had a device and you guys all pay, you give a nice chunk of that back to the thieves and the IRS that aren't even government related?
We sure do.
Yeah, good for you. If you want to wait around that, we can talk after this. Okay.
off the record.
Yeah. And legally, totally legally, do all legal stuff. We don't do anything. Flat Earth doesn't do anything illegal except talk about the truth, which seems to be illegal these days.
Good thing.
Yeah. So where was I going with that? We were talking about NASA and why would they lie?
What are they hiding?
Yeah. So if you had something the size of a roll of quarters that would heat and air condition your house and run your car for your entire life, would that change anything?
Absolutely.
Now you have unlimited power, free energy, clean, and you don't have to pay for it. You might quit your job and just start gardening. You know what? And I can do a lot of stuff, and I could travel, and I could do stuff. There used to be over 100 years ago, cruise ship size airships that held thousands of people. Didn't learn about that in school, did you? That cruised all around the world, right? Thousands of people on a airship. And that's why there's never they demonized hydrogen with the Hindenburg. That was a psyop, by the way. Yeah. And then NASA owns all of the helium companies in the world for two reasons.
Interesting.
One, so you can't get enough of it to build an airship, and two, because they use a lot of it to float their things up in the sky and make you believe that rockets are going to outer space. On the app, on flatearthdave.com, if you go to the More Resources page, which is the little web-looking button, and click rocket balloons and watch those videos, bring tissues, because you're going to lose all of your space beliefs and Star Wars. It's all gone, right? And then you're gonna understand that we never went to the moon. They're lying to us. But it's all about control. There's a book in the book section on the app, and it's called The Iron Republic. You can go actually look on YouTube, the channel called The Morgile, read it. He did a great job. It's a 5-hour video, and it's about a politician in the late 1800s that got sick and tired of politics in New York. He sold his house, sold everything, bought a big ship, and he went exploring, and he went around Antarctica. And he was going around Antarctica, and he found an inlet. He went in, he's following it. Then they're back out in the ocean. He was lost at sea for 3 months. None of the stars made sense. Couldn't figure out where he was. And after about 3 months, they saw land. They're like, oh my God, land. Oh, a city, right? And they pull up to the city at night. So they're waiting for the morning. And they're like, they see the city. They're like, but there's no noise coming from the city. But they can see the city. There's no noise. And they waited. And in the morning, a boat came out. Guy spoke English. He goes, hey, ahoy, hello, where are you guys from? It's like, where are we? He's like, well, you're at the Iron Republic. And they're like, well, we're from America. Where's the Iron Republic? He goes, well, it's on the other side of Antarctica, about the same distance as America. Didn't quite understand. They pull in. They talk about, this is in the 1901. This was published, 1901. Flat screens, floating cars, a completely different type of government, just a whole different thing. The guy, long story short, He lived there for 10 years. He fell in love with a woman, got married, and like 5 years later, she died in an accident or something. He got so distraught. He got his ship back and he went back to Florida and he told the story and he published it in Florida Magazine in a series of articles. And he said he had tons of proof. But again, I haven't seen
Is
it.
the proof all in the article and that he wrote? Or
It's in there, but here's the thing. You can't find the whole book is there. And the very end of the book, the writing style changed. Like, who wrote that last chapter? And you can't find a single physical copy of Florida Magazine. Now that's weird. In today's day and age, you can find anything. eBay, you could, with the internet, you can find anything. Not a single copy of that magazine can be found anywhere. It's kind of crazy. So
how was he able to get through the Antarctica shore? If he was able to get to the other side of it, how was he able to do that in a ship?
Yeah, because we don't believe that Antarctica goes all the way around. There's a thing called the Summers Gate. And if you look at an aerial view of the Getty Museum, the Getty Museum, where is that? In the UK? I'm not sure exactly where it is, but they have this crazy landscaping and like this flower of life. Then there's this pond with has the flat Earth in it, and then there's this opening, which has if we look at one of our maps that shows the Summers Gate, it's in the same spot. And it's like a passage. So maybe that's why they're so worried about global warming, because maybe more of these passages open up at certain times, certain areas. There's a whole list.
Okay.
And so think about this. I used to love space. Oh my God, Star Wars and other planets and stuff. The story of Star Wars is literally a story that only makes sense on flat Earth, where we have other ponds. Remember, we had our pond in Kansas.
Yep.
So you're traveling, 25 miles from the shoreline. You can't see the shore. You can't see the mountain in the center. You go in a big circle. You end up right back to where you started from. East and west will take you there. But now you're going to head south. What direction is south? South is every direction away from the center. So no matter where you are on the lake, let's say I'm on one side of the mountain, you're on the other, and we both head south, we're heading away from each other, but we're both heading south because our compasses are pointing back towards the center of the lake. Make sense?
Right.
Okay.
Right? So there's a tree in the middle of the yard, and I'm on one side of the tree, and you're on the other, and that tree is the North Pole. Our compasses are going to point to that tree. If we both start walking south, we're walking away from each other. So what happens? You sail, all of a sudden, hey, there's some shore, and you get to the shore. The shore is higher than the water, right? It's holding the water in. It's containing the water, just like Antarctica. You pull up your boat, you climb out of the water. You don't fall off the edge of the lake. You're now on the land. And now you start walking away from the lake. Now, just remember, this is a smaller Earth. So a mile away, you're a mile away. You can't even see the lake from a mile away, right? You're a mile away. You look back, where's the lake, right? 10 miles away, you can't see anything, right? 20 miles away, you come to another lake. What's this other lake? Get on a boat there and you go out. There's other islands there, other continents out in that lake. Now, let me preface. We don't know what's beyond the shoreline of Antarctica because there's no independent exploration of Antarctica. In late 1950s, Admiral Byrd did Project High Jump, weird, high jump, getting up above high, and went out and said, leaving Little America, which is a base in Antarctica, crossing the South Pole, there's land, more land, bigger. There's another body of land bigger than the United States, pretty big, filled with resources that no human has ever stepped foot upon. Well, look at that on a globe. That's in between Africa and Australia. Do you think that they would notice something the size of the United States there? I think they would.
Probably so. Yeah.
But on a flat Earth, that could just be another continent on the other side of the Antarctic shore over there. There's so much about all of the exploration in Antarctica that shows that this is a much bigger circumference than the equator. Captain Cook tried to circumnavigate 3 times around Antarctica. It took him 3.5 years each time, and he went over 68,000 miles. Doesn't work on a globe.
Do you think was that after Admiral Byrd did that?
He died 6 months later. Weird, in his sleep. Young guy.
But Captain Cook was after Admiral Byrd.
I think that's a great question. You know what? I get my dates wrong.
Well, the reason I'm asking is I'm just curious if Admiral Byrd was able to like find a passage like that, and then a guy spends 3 years doing the same thing and never finds that passage. Does
Well, I
that
don't
mean
know.
that somebody's
No.
covering it up, or
Or he just didn't go in it. I mean, maybe it was just an inlet, and he was just trying to circumnavigate. He's like, I'm not going in there. Or maybe
sure, okay,
maybe it was refrozen. You know, we have if you watch some of my videos on my channel, DITRH, we found if we use the ship tracking sites, we can see ships that are 600, 700, 800 miles inside of the shoreline of Antarctica. How are ships 800, 930 miles inside of the shoreline of Antarctica? Unless there's passages.
where are you getting the information, the pictures and the
Just
pictures of the ships inlands?
Go to shiptracker.com. They've been
Okay.
there. They come and they go all the time. And they're there. And I have videos of the website. When we do a video show, I'll show you that stuff. And my contention is they are, you know, we looked at you click on the ship and it gives you all the information about the ship, where it's tons of information. But when we clicked on that ship, it only had 2 pieces of information: the size, 580 meters by 80 meters wide. That's a gigantic ship. And it was registered in the nation of Kiribati. You guys ever hear of Kiribati?
No.
No.
A little tiny island in the middle of the Indian Ocean. So small that you can't even see it on Google Earth until you zoom in on it. And America and China said it's a very important trade route for us. And China gave them $10 billion recently. And I think America gave them an equal amount not that long ago. And we're like, a trade route? Why would you stop at this little sandbar, when you're going around the world? Why would you go to this little island? And I think it's an island that goes to the outer lands, and maybe they're trading technology with other civilizations out there. Maybe they're trading food, weapons, children. I don't know. Other than we found a ship registered to that nation. And then also they have a giant pier on this island that can accommodate giant ships like that. And all of the ships that were hanging around that island, their destinations, when you click on them, were one of 2 things: unknown or Christmas Island. I don't know what that means.
North Pole, Christmas Island, right?
Christmas Island,
Santa's workshop.
You look in, Santa,
I am looking at marinetraffic.com right now. I didn't see shiptracker.com, but I found marine traffic when I looked that up. And I do see there are like fishing vessels inland in the Antarctic.
They're always fishing vessels too.
Yeah, it doesn't. These particular ones don't show any like where they came from, what port they set off from, but it is interesting.
Yeah, we can do hours, and I could show you all sorts of stuff. But we're on Spotify. We're on a
concise.
Yeah, we're trying to talk to the listening audience. David,
we're trying to get like an overall feel here.
Yeah, so there's a lot to it. The thing is,
let me backtrack a little bit with the NASA stuff. So the rockets that, well, most of it's SpaceX now, but do you think that Elon Musk is doing the same thing NASA's doing with like the helium balloons, making them look like rockets and sending them up to somewhere or across the horizon, as you can see with your naked eye?
So they're very tricky on how they do it. They do it in multiple different ways, because then, because you're like, well, that can't be CGI. Well, that can't be helium. Well, that can't, that they launch miniatures. There's never a person on a rocket ever. Okay. Except Mad Mike Hughes, who tried to jump a canyon with a steam powered engine. And he had a sticker on his rocket that said research flat Earth, because some flat earthers paid for a billboard. And then all of the news media in the world said crazy man kills himself trying to prove the Earth is flat by jumping 1,800 feet. That's a stupid story, because you go in a building that's much higher than that. And so again, why would the mainstream constantly need to straw man us? Neil deGrasse Tyson says, I don't have time to talk to flat earthers, but for the last 6 years, he's done straw man video after straw man video after straw man video, saying things about us. All those flat earthers, if the Earth was rising at 9.8 meters per second, it would have to accelerate and it would reach an infinite speed in no time flat. No flat earther believes that the Earth is rising upwards. Just People that are strawmanning flat Earth believe that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we talked about this at the beginning a little bit, but we're on the flat Earth with the dome. We have an atmosphere. There's something.
Yeah.
What's beyond that? What is beyond the atmosphere? We talked about how we can't really conclusively say what a star is, what a planet is. It's reflecting light from the sun, supposedly. Where are we? Like, what is out beyond?
And what
upward?
is the sun?
Yeah.
Again,
if it's not what we've been told by NASA, what is it?
These are great questions. And the thing is, the only thing you can say about any of the luminaries in the sky, sun, moon, and stars, and other things other than airplanes that we know what they are, is that they're lights. That's the only thing that you can honestly say. We don't know, right? I think that the sun that we see, non-physical, is literally like a focused point of energy through the firmament. I believe that the source of the sun, whatever it might be the creator. I don't know. But we don't need to speculate what's above where we can reach or beyond where we're allowed to go to prove the Earth is flat. We can do that, with lasers and mirror flashes, and we can prove that the Earth is not a ball the size that they tell us. We can see things that would require the ball to have a radius of like 380,000 miles. When they tell us the radius of the Earth is, do you guys know?
43
less, 39,063. It's just less.
39.
It's less than 4,000 miles, right? So they tell us the radius of our ball is less than 4,000 miles. We can see things that would require a radius of 385,000 miles. There's a big discrepancy there. So either the Earth is 100 or 1,000 times bigger than they tell us, or it's flat.
So when you were talking earlier about I think you said it was called the Summers Gate.
Yeah.
Like spots that open up around
maybe. We don't know. We're not
Antarctic shore.
It's something to talk about. Yes.
So if I'm understanding correctly, what you were saying at the beginning was that the water needs a container, and the Antarctic shore around the Earth is that container, correct?
Not 100%. I think that the pond that we're in is much bigger. I think that we're contained in our prison of 60 degrees south. I don't know if Antarctica even goes all the way around us. No one's ever proven it to me. I haven't been there. I don't believe, and again, all of these stories, there's the
you're saying that's not necessarily the edge of the container. That's just as far as we know.
That's as far as we're allowed to go. Maybe the edge of the container is 1,000 miles farther. Maybe it's
which is where they're hiding the other continents and the technology.
Other ponds out there, or maybe there's hiding more continents here on our Earth. Did you know that Japan this year found 7,000 new islands that they didn't know existed before? Isn't that?
I did see that.
I did not see that.
Now that's just here in where they're kind of south a little bit. There's stuff here that we don't even know. So what's in the outer southern oceans? The Southern Ocean, which is all of the land beyond 60 degrees south, it's bigger than the rest of all the oceans combined.
Right.
All right. We don't know what's out there. They're not telling us. When you want to go to Antarctica, there's 100 different companies, all run by the same company. So it's really one company pretending to be 100 companies that want to overcharge you, and they'll take you to that little tip off of Santiago to a little island, which is a giant island called Rothschild Island or Deception Island. Which one would you like? And you never get to go near the shoreline of Antarctica. There is no independent exploration of Antarctica. What about Mr. Beast? He got to go there. I don't even know who Mr. Beast is, but they got to go there, and they were supposed to go explore out south, but the scientists all got COVID and they had to cancel it. So they got to Antarctica and they sent them back, just like Spider Track's guy that was supposed to circumnavigate, and he got turned around also. It's kind of weird that anytime anyone's trying to get to Antarctica, something just goes wrong and they're not allowed to go across.
Do you think that would happen with, I heard I've actually listened to several episodes of your podcast. There's a pilot, I think William knows the name of, who's offering a flights.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that
If
Kelsey,
somebody were to
Kelsey
take
the
him
fraud,
up on that,
Kelsey the fraud, and we did take him up on it, and he backed
you did.
out and
Okay,
ran away. Yes.
that
So
was my question. What happened with that situation?
So he said, I'll fly you myself. You can hire my company, and we'll go from here to here to here. And he's just basically, doing something that would be impossible on a flat Earth, or supposedly impossible. I forget the exact route. So we said, okay, we're in. And he goes, well, you got to go book it yourself. He's like, well, help us out. What's the name of your company? I don't want to tell you the name of my company. We're like, I thought you were going to fly us. He's like, well, no, I'm not a travel agent, right? He literally backed out and ran away. But you didn't see our videos on that because those are hidden in YouTube's algorithm. But you search flat Earth and he'll show up. So on my app, on the more resources page, there's a button called debunking the debunkers. And there's a whole section on Kelsey in there. And all of the stuff, all of our conversations, our emails, everything with him, and showing you that he just had a false claim and he was pushed by the algorithm. He may
That's what I was going to ask was, did you have any documentation of this attempt that he agreed to and then backed out of?
He even did a video on it. Yes, we even did a video, and we have those clips.
Oh, wow.
Video of him talking about it. He goes, he changed the story, and then we took it and we said what he said, and then we took his original video and like, this is what he really said, and this we literally document it for you. You guys want to become rich? You guys want to be rich?
Of course.
Invent something that makes people lazier. Okay. So what makes people lazier? You guys cook dinner? You have wives? I don't know. You guys cook dinner? Cooking dinner. What does that involve?
Of course.
You got to go shopping. You got to drive.
Don't love it.
You gotta prepare the food. You gotta cook it. You gotta clean up afterwards. What's easier than doing that? Fast food, right? Fast food.
Yeah. Meal prepping.
What makes fast food even lazier? DoorDash. You don't have to get off your couch.
Someone else will bring it to me.
Someone else will bring it to you. So we've done all of the work for you. We've done all of the experiments. Doing flat Earth experiments isn't easy. Like the Globers will scream refraction, refraction. So we go out on a frozen lake at night doing tests, 8 miles away. You need radios, you need lights, lasers, you need cameras. Everyone's fingers are freezing. We did it all for you and we documented it. We did it for you. It's all available, but Google will hide all of those videos from you. You Google Flat Earth David Weiss, Flat Earth Dave, you're going to get all propaganda videos that have nothing to do with me. You're going to get all stuff that's pushed that they want you to look at and then laugh at and then never look at Flat Earth again, because Flat Earth unplugs you from the Matrix. The Matrix is a prison for your mind. And when you're trapped in that prison, your mind isn't sending out the thoughts and the understanding of where you live, of this true creation, right? Your thoughts create your reality. They don't want you to know that. If you don't believe it, that's your problem. It's not a belief. Look at your life. Everything you have in it is your fault. Everything. It's all your fault.
I got to bring up I'm sure you're familiar with this, and I'm sure you've talked at length about this before, but I have not heard your take on it. The Netflix documentary they did.
Yeah,
where they have the experiments
behind the curve. So on the debunking the debunkers page, the first video is a 4-minute video explaining how that was just a hit piece. All right. So let's just talk about the two things that happened there. One was Jaron was doing the laser. We had a great experiment. We were next to a canal because the level of the canal would give us our level. And we had 3 sheets of plywood a mile and a half apart or something. So there was like 3 miles. So and they had a hole at the exact same height based off the level of the water. And if we could shine a laser through all 3, the Earth is flat. If not, if the Earth is a globe, the middle one should be higher than the other 2, right? Because the Earth is a globe. Well, the laser is spread out, and they had a very powerful laser, and we had a condenser on it, and turned it on before we could even do experiment. The condenser melted and laser broke. So we're out there, the equipment, everything. And so we're like, well, let's hold a light. And we held a light, and the guy goes, I can't see it. And then they said, hold it higher. And he held it up. So when I hold a light next to my face and I reach up, how much higher is that? 2 feet, 3 feet?
Maybe a foot and a half, 2 feet.
Something like that.
Well, it would have to be 27 feet for them to see it. I forget the exact number, but it was 27 or 17, whatever it is. But he held it up. He goes, oh, I see it. And Jaron goes, interesting. Because it was interesting.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
Yeah.
Cut.
That's the clip that circulated a lot.
No. That's where they cut it. And then he brought it down And he goes, oh, I can see it again, which kind of proves that the Earth is flat because he could see it again. But we all like too many factors. All the flat earthers there were like, we're not taking that as a win. And everyone there walked away. There was too many things. And what happened was the first time there was a tree branch that was blowing and was in the way, blocking it. And then when he brought it down, he could see it. But they left it out of the video. And all of these experiments with all the people and radios and time and phones and everything, it's difficult because then you got to film it. Well, these people that were doing this piece that swore it was going to be good, they're like, we'll come and film the experiment. And they're like, will you give us the footage? Oh, absolutely. And they never would give us the footage because if we did, we could show that they're lying. The other thing in that documentary was it was a ring laser gyro, very complicated technical piece, and basically it's supposed to measure if something is rotating, and it measured about 15 degrees per hour. And we're like, so Bob, and it was on a hot mic, he goes, yeah, we better not let the Globers know about this because they'll go wild, and they use that in the video. And the reason is because, yes, there was a 15-degree rotation, but it didn't determine what was rotating. Was it the Earth or was it the ether, the sky? So we came up with another experiment. We took it up at the same latitude to top of, I think it was Pikes Peak or some mountain, and it rotated at a different speed. If you understand the experiment, that absolutely 100% proves it's the ether that was moving and not the Earth. 100% proves it. But that was not allowed in the movie. That we made tons of videos on it. You won't find them unless you literally know exactly where to look for them. But you can find them on my app, flatearthdave.com. Go to the debunking the debunker section, and you'll see. So again, here's the thing. I live in Connecticut. Where do I live?
Connecticut.
Up north.
Oh.
Connecticut,
do you
up north.
Believe it or do you know it?
I believe it because you told me.
Oh, no, I believe it because you told me, but I also remembered earlier that you said California, so I was wondering which one.
I don't think I said California. I do actually live in Connecticut, but here's the thing. It's so easy to believe anything, to understand where you truly live. You guys believe you live on a ball, but you have zero proof. I know we don't live on a ball, and I have proof because I've taken the time 24/7 for the last 7 years. Okay. And that's all I do and I don't do it like, oh, you stupid flat earthers, you'll never change your mind. No, we were Globers. We changed our mind based on new information.
Yeah. I would love to talk about that briefly. Like what was your like realization moments, if you can talk about that?
Well, my realization moment was the ships over the horizon, because I live on the water. I'm a water guy. And we were all shown that 3-masted ship going over the horizon from the bottom up, and it disappears from the bottom up. And then Bill Nye, the line guy with the bow tie, shows you the big ball, and he takes this model and it disappears from the bottom up. If we lived on a ball, boats would disappear from the bottom up. Does that mean if a boat disappears from the bottom up, we live on a ball? No, because the horizon is supposed to curve away from you in every direction. It's required to if it's a ball, but you look out across the ocean, it's a straight line. Now we see in a circle, but a big flat circle. Right? But if you're looking out in front of you, it should go down and around, and you should spin around, and it should be below your feet. But the horizon's always at your eye level, and you see in a circle. So I see all these videos of boats disappearing, and then they're taking their P900 super zoom cameras and zooming them back in. And so I bought the P900 and a tripod, and I went down to the beach, and I sat down. I lucked out too. It was a cold, clear, calm day. And I zoomed in on a buoy that was just under 11 miles away. That buoy should have been behind 66 feet of curvature conservatively, 66 feet. And I could see it. And not only could I see it, I could see the water beyond it.
Interesting.
You have to believe that everything is refracting up the perfect amount. The water beyond it's refracting up, 75 feet. The buoy's refracting up 66 feet. The water in front of it, a mile in front of it's refracting up 45 feet. Everything's refracting up and stopping at eye level to trick you into everything that your senses are telling you. The Earth is stationary. We're not spinning. Right? Go in a car, perfectly straight road, beautiful car, best car ever. Cruise control set at 100 miles an hour, and get a dinner plate and fill it with water. And have that car speed up or slow down or take the slightest turn. What's going to happen to that water? It's going to slosh right off.
Sloshes.
Right, but we go out and we can go out and look at lakes that are reflecting mountains that that are perfectly calm.
Isn't that due to inertia?
So the Earth is spinning, and it's speeding up and slowing down in its orbit, speeding up and slowing down like 80 miles an hour a day, or I forget the number exactly, but it's ridiculous. And we're told, well, you're going at the same speed. And people go, I could drink a glass of water on an airplane and go to the bathroom, right? That's what we're all programmed to say. And I say, well, if you want to compare that to the slowest motion of the Earth, which is the spin, you have to double the speed of the airplane to 1,000 miles an hour. You have to remove the outside cover of the airplane because there is no outside cover of the globe. And then you have to nosedive at a mile a minute just to follow the curve, right? The SR-71 biplane goes 2,300 miles per hour. Do you know how much it would have to drop every second just to follow the curve of the Earth? 80 stories a second.
So I do have something to say about that, and just because the way planes fly. And so I guess just to preface, I have to ask, do you believe that the air gets thinner the higher you go up?
Absolutely.
Okay. So since planes are want to be in equilibrium, that's just how they fly. They want to fly straight. But since the Earth, in my point of view, since it is a globe, it would have to go along a curved track, technically, if it were high enough to continue going, not go out of the atmosphere.
So is the air curved?
The air is not curved, but the air is proportional to the Earth below it. So planes are flying at a certain altitude. So let's say you want to fly at 40,000 feet. You're going to be at 40,000 feet in relation to sea level. So it's constantly correcting itself to stay at the same altitude. And we do that through trim. But also, if you're trying to fly at the same altitude, those instruments are correcting themselves. But even if like you were trying to stay at the same altitude, for the curvature of the Earth, it's like 0.002 degrees
80
per second is what you have to
80
correct.
stories a second. 80 stories a second. They would be smashed against the ceiling of that plane. Right? Let's throw it down to the water. When you're underwater, is the water curved? Underwater, not the surface of the water, because you believe that the oceans are convex when we can measure that they're flat when they're at rest. But when you're underwater, is the water curved? No, right? So submarine, when they're flying underwater, essentially flying through the water. They have their wings out and they fly level to the surface above them. So they're just flying straight and level. Now, if the Earth was curved, they would fly right out of the water at some point because the Earth would curve and they would pop out. All tunnels, all bridges, all construction for up to 100 miles uses a flat, non-curved surface as their baseline. All bridges, all tunnels, right? If you had a tunnel 10 miles, it would have to nose down 66 feet in 10 miles. But they go straight. They go perfectly straight.
Bridges don't. A lot of bridges, most large bridges, curve to help the structural integrity of the bridge.
That's fine. Right. And the argument everyone comes up with, the Narrazano Bridge is that the very top is a half an inch wider than it is at the bottom. Well, look at the new Tappan Zee Bridge here in New York. It's literally leaning away at a 45 degrees. It's out 100 feet farther than at the top than the bottom. That's just how they build a bridge. Right? If you have a suspension bridge pulling towards the center, you might want to build it leaning outwards a little bit. It proves nothing other than that the stanchions are leaning outwards. That's all it proves. And if you look at the orthographic view of that bridge, the water is perfectly flat underneath it because people are like, oh, the curve of the bridge. No, that's how bridges are built. You're right. Right? But they're not accounting for the curve of the Earth. In China, the Dengqing something bridge, it's over 100 miles long, and they accounted for no curvature. The Suez Canal, over 100 miles long, there'd be over a mile of curvature, but they did it on a datum line of 14 feet or something. Zero curvature over 100 miles. 100 miles. We have in the movies section on the app. We have a one called Flatten the Curve, not Beyond the Curve, not the Netflix one. Flatten the Curve. Bunch of military whistleblowers and these guys that do weapons on military ships. They're like, we can light up another ship with a pencil thin laser beam at over 100 miles away. Wait a minute. There should be a mountain of water over a mile high between you, hiding that ship. And sonar doesn't go through water curving around the Earth. It hits something and it comes back. They could sit on the bottom of the ocean, see another submarine on the bottom of the ocean over 100 miles away. There would be a mountain of ocean dirt, a mountain of, a dirt mountain of curvature, 6,600 feet high between them. But somehow the radar, the sonar can do it. And then lasers, when they talk about long distance laser, not lasers, radio waves and microwaves that they bounce off of the ionosphere, and that's how they reach these great distances. But they tell us that the ionosphere can only bounce off anything less than 40 megahertz, but they're sending 100 megahertz signals going over 2,500 miles line of sight. 2,500 miles line of sight. You can't even calculate the curvature because the curvature formula breaks at that distance, right? There are only proofs that we're not on a ball. Only. There are zero proofs that we're on a ball other than that's what you were told. That's what the teachers had in the book. They show you the meme of the Earth cut into a section. They show you all the different layers of the Earth, but we've never gotten below 7.5 miles. The deepest hole ever dug is like at 7.8 miles, I think. And when they were digging it, they were wrong every step of the way. Like, well, no more rocks. They hit rocks. No more water. It hit water. Everything they were wrong. Then they hit an impenetrable barrier that they tried to get through for years and years, and they couldn't get through it. But then somehow they know what the next 4,000 miles is. Amazing.
Where was that?
That was in Russia, called the Kola borehole. The deep Russia Kola borehole. The United States and Russia worked on it for years. And there's some crazy stories out of there. They dropped a microphone down in there. And I
did see that video.
That's some creepy sounds that are coming out of there. Now, is that true?
That was creepy.
Yeah. Like, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I'm very empathic, I think. And when I heard that, it literally shook me, and I don't want to hear it again. So I wasn't there. Can you make up something like that? Sure. You can make up a lot of things, but you can't make up the fact that you yourself can go to the beach and see things that should be behind a physical curve. On a ball, there is a required physical curvature. On a flat Earth, it's optical. It's optical, right? I could show you horizons through a time lapse during the day where they go up and they go down. The buildings get taller and the mountains get taller, and they get taller and shorter and taller and shorter, and they disappear and they look like they're. It's just optics. It's just the optics of the atmosphere.
Yeah. Is there an experiment that you would accept of a scientist, a respected scientist that was a globe Earth believer, that they could do a place you could go? Would they have to send you up in a rocket? What would it take for you to change your view on this completely? Or is there anything that would change even if you saw it with your own eyes?
No. I would have to prove the globe. But honestly, at this point, with all the research I've done, I don't offer 3 Bitcoins lightly because that's a lot of money and I don't want to give them up. But so far, no one has ever stepped up and, come up with anything even slightly legitimate.
I got to ask, and
go ahead.
I'm not trying to be rude here.
Oh, no, go ahead.
And I understand that the photos, you don't trust NASA. The photos of the Earth, a lot of those are composites.
They're all NASA admits it.
Okay, so even like the ones taken from the moon, of the Earth from the moon,
things
like that.
We actually
would you have to take the picture yourself, or like what would have to be the proof to prove that?
Well, first you want to take a picture of an Earth that has a high pressure atmosphere adjacent to a space vacuum. There's no picture being taken because that's a scientific impossibility, right? But let's pretend someone is on the moon. They took a picture. We actually, on a live stream, Rob Skiba went to the NASA website, took that Earthrise photo, right? The picture of the Earth from the moon.
Yeah.
And he took it right off their website, put it in Photoshop and cranked up the levels. And there was a box around the Earth where they cut and pasted it in. They didn't expect people to have Photoshop. Then since then, they've replaced that picture and the box is no longer there. But we did it live. There's 100 videos of it. And so we're showing you that it's a fake picture, and it's really easy. I mean, look at it. It's horrible. It's horrible.
So I think what Jackson was saying was, let's say he had the connections and got Elon Musk to personally fly you in a rocket ship to the moon so that you could bring your own camera and your own eyes and see it. If all of those things happened and you were able to look from outside the atmosphere at the Earth, would something like that convince you if it happened?
So here's the thing. I don't believe that there is there's no going to space. I don't believe anyone's on those rockets. Bring me to a rocket launch and let me go right there, right next to the rocket, as close as, you can be, because people are 10, 20 miles away. Things are tiny. You can't tell what's going on. You don't know what you're seeing. There's Project Bluebeam. They have hologram rockets. They have the helium rockets. They have miniature rockets. They have complete CGI where nothing ever goes up and they just show you video. They do it at night. All of these things. And look at all the rocket trajectories. They go up, they go over. Just like if you threw a football, a bomb, it takes the same path. It goes right into the Bermuda Triangle. That's where all the planes crash, in the Bermuda Triangle. That's why they keep people out of the Bermuda Triangle. And there's another place called Point Nemo, and that's where all of the rockets crash. They're just crashing them into the water if they're launching anything at all. I know it's a lot to take in. I know I'm crushing your fantasy.
It is a lot.
It's a lot.
What about, so we mentioned earlier, like SpaceX is doing most of the launches now.
Yeah.
And
run by NASA.
For the most part, right. Yes, that's true. So for the most part, they live stream those kind of things. You can see from the point where they wheel the rocket in, the little carts or the little trucks they're using for that.
It's all
constant feeds.
It's not constant feeds. It's all pre-filmed. If you look at, I have a one. We're going to do another show. I don't want, actually, I don't
absolutely
research flat Earth. I want you to air this, and then we're going to do, maybe we can do another one like right away. We'll do a video one, and then you could link it, tell people in this, link it to the other one. But Elon Musk, his rockets going into space, they're total fakes. I mean, there's fake, and I could show you. I could watch it. I could show you, and at the end, you'll be like, "Was that really supposed to be an Elon rocket?" And his whole Tesla in space. There's so many things that went wrong with that. Total nonsense. Complete and total nonsense. And yeah. So I had a good point I was going to make, but I forgot it.
I hate it when that happens.
Yeah. So no, I'll get back to your answer on what tests could they do. I would just like to see a rocket go up, and somebody prove that somebody's on it, but they can't do that. They never will. So if we simplify it though, if you could be like inside of the campus of SpaceX, and be watching from the window as one of the Falcon rockets launches, sure. That's pretty easy. That would cost them nothing.
Right. That wouldn't cost anything. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the Earth isn't flat. But you would at least believe that we are launching things past the firmament. But I would have
to see the people get on the rocket. The tour of the rocket. Let me go look at it. None of that's going to happen. None of that's going to happen. So, but I have a test. It's pretty basic. That will prove that the Earth is flat. I can absolutely prove it.
Okay.
And it just takes an airplane. I just need a decent sized airplane that could have film crews on and college professors and all of the people that could verify, and then a couple $1,000s worth of gyros, and I could prove that the Earth is flat, not a ball, in one day.
How big of a plane are we talking?
I don't know, like something that we can have, 15, 20 people where they can walk around, and we could set up cameras and live stream and all sorts of stuff. So, and then,
what kind of respected people would you want on there? Like you said, like college professors and things like that.
It would have to be like physics professors and stuff, people that are not getting grants, because the people getting grants for astronomy and stuff, they won't do it because they'll lose their grants. They won't look at it because they like their gravy train. Neil deGrasse Tyson, you said respected people, so he can't go.
That's good. I like that.
Thank you. And Elon, oh, that's what I want to tell you about Elon Musk. Veron Braun, know who he is?
Yes.
He was a Russian.
I'm familiar. Yeah.
Russian rocket scientist that supposedly came over during Project Paperclip, another scam, not true, because there was no space race. And he's running NASA. That's the story that he started NASA here. And he wrote a book in 1957 called Project Mars. You guys know about this? It's about a group.
I've heard of the book, but I haven't read it.
About a group of people that went to Mars, run by a guy named Elon. Can I get a? That's weird.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'll take it.
You said he's the author?
No, he's the author, Veron Braun, and he wrote it. The guy that's leading the people to Mars, his name is Elon. That's just a coincidence.
Yeah.
There's lots
Life imitating art.
Yeah, or
possibly.
Well,
or
that's how they do
staged.
it. Everything they tell us, Arthur C. Clarke wrote about satellites. No one ever thought about satellites, and boom, there were satellites. A royal guy in the 1800s wrote a book about dinosaurs. No one had ever seen a dinosaur in all of the megalithic construction ever done. Nobody had ever seen a dinosaur, and a year later to the day, he discovers dinosaurs. Then weird. Arthur C. Clarke and the satellites that happened. There's everything happens. They write a story about it, and then it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's just thoughts creating reality. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be. Could be the secret, right?
Could be.
Yeah.
I do actually have a friend that flies a BBJ, which is the Boeing business class jet. So if you're interested in trying to charter a plane that can carry that many people, or you can have plenty of room to walk around, I can probably hook you up with that.
I think in the next year we're gonna have enough money to be able to do it right, and we're gonna do it quietly because I don't want that plane falling out of the sky and going, oh, a bunch of crazy.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
A bunch of crazy.
My friend he probably wouldn't appreciate me giving you his name. He probably doesn't want to fly out of the sky.
No, it's a very, very easy test. Very easy test. If you think about it, I'll explain it to you. So, on your plane, how do you stay level? You spin up a gyro on the ground, level with the ground, and then it flies level. Gyros hold rigidity in space. They don't pay attention to gravity or anything else. They hold rigidity in space. So you got your gyro, and when the plane turns, the gyro stays level to the ground that you took off on. But if you're flying from there 4,000 miles or so, the gyro you're going to be a 90-degree turn because you flew halfway over the ball, but the gyro is going to be level to where you started from. And the answer that you'll have there is, the gyro corrects itself. There's this little device, a little box, right? By the way, if you look into that box, nobody knows what it does. There's only one company that has that. If something goes wrong, they're not allowed to open that box at the airport. They just have to swap it out. And pilots have tried to call that company to get information, and you can never get anyone on the phone because it's.
What is this box called?
I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but there's a video. There's a video on it on the airplane section on the app. But there was a flight where the flight was boarded. The box wasn't responding. The airport said they didn't have any more. And they said, you know what, just go on the flight and just check in every 15 minutes and we'll give you the adjustment to make the adjustment for the curvature. And every time they called in, they didn't have to make an adjustment. And that's the guy that said, this is interesting. I never had to adjust. And he started trying to, reach out to this company, and he couldn't get any information on it at all. And then we found out that company is a subsidiary of NASA, right? Whenever you hear NASA, that's you gotta once you understand that NASA,
raise an eyebrow.
Yeah, I think NASA is the world intelligence organization, and everybody reports to NASA. Go ahead.
Are you talking about the attitude indicator?
I don't know the name.
That is a gyroscopic instrument, but I'm not aware of any box inside of it other than the.
Yeah, there is a box that supposedly adjusts for curvature because your gyro won't adjust for curvature. So when you fly over the ball, when you go halfway around the world, your gyro would be standing upright from your point of view, still level with your original position. But that doesn't happen.
That's just not on any diagram of them. That's what I was wondering. Is it the attitude indicator you're talking about, or is it the altimeter, or the
I have to look it up. I don't know the name off the top of my head. I can't remember everything.
Okay.
But here's the thing: is we're gonna get a vertical gyro. We're gonna spin a gyro up where it's vertical and it's oriented east and west. Okay. So then you take off and you head 90 degrees east. So if you're heading 90 degrees east, you have your gyro compass. So the gyro is holding its position east. And you have your compass readings, a circle around it with your direction. So you're heading east. Now you ignore the magnetic compass, you ignore GPS, and you maintain dead reckoning east. Now what's going to happen is, let's say we take off out of New York, you're going to have to constantly correct to the left, which would be north, to maintain that heading. Because remember, we're going around the magnetic center like we did on our lake, and we're going to have to keep turning left to maintain that direction. Now, that doesn't prove the Earth is flat or a globe, because it's the same. It's the same on both. You have to always turn to maintain a heading of 90 or 270. You guys with me on that?
Okay. Yeah.
I believe so.
So in the north, when heading east, you have to turn left. When heading west, you have to turn right. Both of those are north. Right. And that works perfectly. In the south, on a globe, when you're heading east, you'd have to turn to the right, not to the left, to correct to the south to maintain your equidistance from the South Pole. But I know that it wouldn't work that way. You'd always have to correct to the north. And one way we know this is there's many ships captains, military captains, that say when they're in the Southern Oceans trying to dead reckon east or west, they constantly have to correct to the north. And one of them was on Mark Sargent's show, and he said that when he brought it up to his commander said, "Don't worry about it."
Does that pretty much track, William? I mean, the directions, at least, the corrections.
Yeah. You agree with the premise that on the south, you'd have to correct in the other direction, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The only place you wouldn't have to correct is the equator, because on the ball, you're just flying straight around the equator. But if the farther south you go, the more you'd have to correct. Like if you were 1 mile from the North Pole on a ball, you would have to take heading west, a really hard right turn, and 6.28 miles later, you'd be right back to where you started from, heading 270 the whole way. So the same thing is in the south. But all we need to do is two things. One, we're going to fly from the United States down to, let's say, Brazil. And we're going to go dead south. And we're going to use our gyro compass to prove that the gyro holds its position. Because when you're heading south or north, there is no turning. Those are straight lines on a globe and on a flat Earth. And so my compass is going to say, yep, you're going south. My gyro compass is going to say, yep, you're going south. And GPS is going to agree that, yep, we're going south. Then we're going to go down there and we're going to turn east or west. And we're going to spin our gyro up in that direction, and we're going to follow it, and when it's going to peel off to the right when it should peel off to the left. That definitively will prove that we're not on a ball and the Earth is flat.
Okay. It seems simple enough.
It is, but here's
you
the
said
thing.
you're hoping to have the money raised for that sometime next year.
It all depends on how things go. I have my app. You guys need to get my app, the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. It shows you how everything's going, and if the app does well, I've been putting a lot of money back into it. I think we'll have the money to do an experiment like that, and we're going to do it. We're going to do it right.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. And
people I'm definitely excited to see that.
Flat Earth is dying. No, Google's hidden Flat Earth. They've hidden it. Flat Earth is
suppression.
Is actually exploding. It's getting bigger and bigger all the time.
I agree with that. I think there's more and more people that I have found in my research that seem to, more people than I would think would normally believe in it.
Just the people in the Northeast here. I'm trying to show you.
Yeah.
Is that how many people use your app, or is that how many people
are using my app
registered?
This is how many people are using my app, and I'd say it's less than 1% of the total number of flat earthers. Right? We're one tweet away from going full mainstream. So again, don't believe anything I say. Take the time. Don't be lazy. You could say, you know what? I live on a ball. As I was saying at the beginning, I don't know if I finished the point. Government tells you the Earth is flat and stationary, and the stars are rotating around us just like we see, and they've never changed. I'll take a picture of the stars tonight. A year later, take the same picture from the same place, and every star will be in the exact same position. Impossible on a heliocentric model. But then some guys came up and tried to tell you that the earth is spinning, wobbling, and turning. How you would think we were crazy. There would be no way we can convince you. But since the government and the schools tell you, you believe it because, ship can disappear going over a globe and they've over a ball, they've brainwashed us into believing that's the only way it can go over. And then, they never teach you about perspective and the atmospheric layers and how everything merges into the horizontal eye zone, also called a horizon, not a curve eye zone, a horizon. And how the sun goes beyond it, not below it. It's very, very easy. They got us believing in the speed of sound, the sound barrier, the speed of light, they got us believing in the boats going over the curve. Light travels for billions and billions of years, right? And doesn't dissipate. Not true. Light is just like when I yell, you're a mile away, you couldn't hear me. Right? Light travels and it spreads out. It gets dimmer and dimmer and weaker, inverse square law. And we can prove that these things that we're seeing are not what they tell us. I tracked the ISS. The ISS is just like Jupiter. It's bright as the sun, right? It's traveling 17,500 miles an hour. It took 8 minutes to go across my sky. 8 minutes. It should be in California. I'm seeing something the size of a 747 in California, right? There's no way. There's no way it could be going that speed. So we had a NASA whistleblower, and again, guy that I was emailing with for a while, testing him like, this could be just a troll, telling me some really interesting stuff. I said, all right, ISS, explain it. He said there's 5 modified B-2 bombers, old B-2 bombers, where they made certain parts of them translucent with translucent material other than the thin steel structure that holds it together. And then the whole bottom is an array of sun temperature LEDs, and they take turns. There's 2 of them based in Alaska. One is in Russia, and I forget where the other 2 are. And they take turns running these routes. And that's what you see when you see the light going across the sky. Wow, man, that's a lot of work just to deceive people. Here's the thing. Anyone that wakes up to flat Earth literally unplugs from their matrix, their energy vampirific, is that the word? Matrix. Vampiric, yeah. Where they're stealing your energy. This is a spiritual war that we're in. That's a war for your soul. It's a war for your energy. And the more that you participate, here's the thing. We're born into God's creation of this earth realm, and we are the recipients. We are the benefactors of this, and nobody rules over anybody. We all are equal beneficiaries of this. However, they can't take that from us, but they can trick us. They can go, oh, no, you don't live on God's beautiful flat earth where nature doesn't lie. You live on this ball where we lie, and you use our fake money. So now I'm on their monopoly board playing with their monopoly money. I got to play by their rules. I got to pay the banker. I got to do all the stuff. Right? When the truth is, none of that's real. It's all a belief system. If everyone listened to your podcast tomorrow, whenever it comes out, and everyone goes, you know what? This guy's right. Screw the government. We don't need to take down the government because they would just dissolve. They'd be gone. If we didn't pay attention to the government, to the IRS, to any of them, they would just be powerless little nothings. They better not see their faces because they'll probably get their asses kicked. So we are powering the system through false beliefs. Was it Goebbels that said, give me a kid to the age of 7 and I'll own them for the rest of your life? Well, that's what they do. They pop you in school and they teach you a bunch of garbage, and there's globes in the front of the class, and they make you believe in fantasy space, and they train you to be a good little worker slave in their corporate system. Your parents signed your birth certificate, so you're traded on the stock market as a commodity. Right? You're literally a commodity in their system. We need to unplug from their system. Stop using their money, their fake fiat money, and stop playing on their stupid board, because the earth is not a spinning ball. The ball is a prison for your mind. FlatEarthDave.com. Go watch the crash course, get the app, do whatever you have to do to educate yourself. Take some time, turn off Netflix, and understand that you're at the center of creation.
I think that's a great plug and a great sentiment to end on. Dave, thank you so much for coming on, and I'd love to have you on again with some more visuals that you have prepared, and kind of talk about this even deeper if you want.
I'll do it if you guys are up for it. We'll do another show, and I'll send you a scheduling link, and let's do it.
Sounds great, man. Thank you so much.
If you're up for it, drink a lot of water tonight, okay? Breathe and don't
rehydrate.
Listen, I don't know if I convinced any of you, but don't.
Meditate.
If I did, don't go tell your spouse the Earth is flat, because they'll be like, "You're out of your freaking mind." Okay, just let it soak in, and then research the questions that you have. But you won't find them on Google. You won't find them on YouTube. You got to know where to look. FlatEarthDave.com. On my website, if you go down to the you'll see a big picture of me. It says Crash Course. There's a list of videos that are being hidden. Just watch those. They're really good videos, even if you hate flat Earth. Watch those videos, and it's scientifically impossible to watch 3 of them and remain a glober.
Okay. All right. That is a challenge right there.
Okay.
Dave, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and I can't wait to have you back, man.
All right, guys. See ya.